You know, arguably one of the most important things Shopsmith ever did started way back when, right at the beginning. And that's when they decided to take the product to the people. Where we went to malls, home shows, fairs. I mean, me personally, I spent 38 years going to the same fairs, the big fairs, be it the Texas State Fair, the Big E, Puyallup up in the Northwest in Seattle. That really made a significant difference. It always did. We went to the same malls at the same time of the year, usually 2-3 times a year, in fact, but always at the same time, to the point where the public expected us to be at these events, and they waited for us to show up at these events, mostly because they could actually see the product in real time, and second big advantage, they knew they could always get it on sale, or different pieces and parts on sale. Well, of course, COVID hit. That all stopped. So I totally revamped how the product was presented, and we now do it, I do it, via Zoom. I'm going to show you a little bit today about what they look like. Take some excerpts from actual Zoom presentations, then tell you how you can register for these things, and then give you again an additional upside of why you might want to participate. The presentation starts out with a brief overview of the Power Pro Headstock. I mean, that's become the star of the machine over the last 10, 12 years now. So I take a considerable amount of time discussing what's different in the Headstock, how the redesign has changed, how the machine actually functions and operates differently than the old machines. Spent some time talking about the buttons, the control pad itself, the new speed range from 250 all the way up to 10,000 RPM, and then how the control pad or button is the handiest of all. It says chart, I confirm, now I'm going to find lathe turning. You see that? Whoop, passed it. Lathe turning, confirm. It's asking me what diameter I'm turning. It'll take it from 0 up to big 16.5-inch diameters. I'm doing about a 2.5-inch piece. I'm doing it in fur, a little softer. It sets your gouge chisel speed, and that's what I'm going to be starting with. Take you to sanding, your shaping, that'd be like your skew chisel I'm going to use. It's all right there, so you have no guesswork. What's important in this first intro part of the presentation is understanding that the Power Pro Headstock, the control pad specifically, is very intuitive. If you can push a button that says chart, you can find any of the major functions and accessories that we have available. And the control pad, the headstock itself, the controllers in there, they set the proper RPMs for what you're going to be doing, depending on what kind of cutter you're using, what type of materials. It's all in there. So we spent some good time talking about that. After the overview of the Power Pro, we get right into it, and I start out with the table saw. And just the way you raise and lower the table itself with this really nice wheel makes the machine way, way simpler and easier to use. Even the carriage lock. On the old machines, you had an old-fashioned wing nut. Now you got this quick quarter turn lock. 1/4 turn locks it, 1/4 turn unlocks it. Again, it speeds up your operations. Floating tables, or floaters, are extra supports you set up as you need, where you need, depending on what you're trying to actually support. I mean, you could be out there trying to support a 16-foot 2x12. You got to have a way to support that if you expect to cut it, number one, safe, and number one, with any kind of precision at all. I continue on by showing a couple different configurations using the floating tables. First of all, for handling really long stuff, that 8.5-foot long table system, right into using the floaters as in-feed and out-feed tables as well. That's always a surprise to most people who've never seen that happen. I complete the table saw setup by throwing the lower guard and upper guard on. Mentioned the redesign of those two items. And then we prepare to actually make some cuts. Not before, though, I talk about that fantastic 520 Pro fence. I go into great detail on that. So the first cut I actually made, I literally jammed that piece with the blade, showing that you just can't bog this thing down. Then I move into old school stuff and do a nice compound miter. That's always a good way to quickly show precision on the table saw. I show how to do that just by lining a piece up. And you look at it. Lines up nice, doesn't it? Then, of course, by reversing directions, you're into making a custom picture frame. You're making joints for the corners of curio cabinets and what have you. Then, we have a little bit more fun. I show you how to spline those kind of corners. I mean, the whole idea is to be able to use the Shopsmith and do really professional work. A lot of people have never seen splining being done. But if you want to really add some professionalism to any of the joints that you make, especially on something like picture frames, fancy curio cabinets, be able to do this, have a professional precision cut like that, that's going to allow then for you to create a spline, add strength, and also adds beauty to the end result. I do talk about the advantage of having two different drilling machines, a horizontal boring machine and the drill press. And of course I show things like how to do screw pockets that are real professional, quick and easy to do. What really surprises non-owners is when I flip the machine up the opposite direction into conventional shaping and routing, where we now can get away from overhead routing. That's the advantage of the Mark 7. Of course, no Mark demonstration is complete without showing the lathe. So I do a lot of lathe turning from a block of wood into a finished piece. I end my Zoom presentations just like I have the last 38 years in live presentations on the bandsaw, Shopsmith's #1 selling accessory. People just seem to enjoy this, and this has kind of become my signature close because I've done it so many years and so often. I mean, isn't this what it's all about? Going out, having a good time, relaxing a little bit, but when you're done, you want to have something physical and concrete to show for your efforts. So the advantages of a Zoom presentation are really no different than when you were standing right in front of me. I mean, you get to actually see the machine in action. You get to see anything new Shopsmith's come up with. I always show the new stuff. And you get to see interesting ways of using the equipment. I mean, that's really very important. Maybe the best part of the 35 to 40 minute presentation is our open discussion session. I mean, it's not often we can get a group of Shopsmith owners and those interested in Shopsmith all together in one place to actually talk about the equipment. I mean, ask questions, get answers about the equipment, things you might not have known before about the equipment. It's one of the best parts of what I do now. A secondary advantage, of course, is because you have registered for a Zoom presentation, you also get to realize discounted pricing on everything. Anything in the catalog. I don't care if you just need that tapered set screw for your miter gauge or brand new machine, I offer it to you at substantially discounted pricing. You want to remember that for certain. So how do you actually find out when these presentations are, what dates they are? That's easy. Go to the Shopsmith website. On the front page, scroll down till you see my mug and click on it. Then you see all the dates and times, and then you simply register. It's that easy. So you now know a little bit more of what I do in a Zoom presentation. They really are very, very popular. If you haven't seen one, get in there like I told you and register. In the meantime, I'm Michael Young, and I'll see you next time on today's Shopsmith.